Oke, halo tes. Sudah terdengar suara saya?
Udah, Pak.
Ya,
Terdengar, Pak.
oke. Selamat siang
Apa,
Bapak,
Pak?
Ibu, dan rekan-rekan semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan
Waalaikumsalam.
selamat datang
Waalaikumsalam
di webinar
warahmatullahi
kita hari ini. Ya, perkenalkan Bapak Ibu, saya Saldo Maulana dan saya merasa sangat senang dan terhormat bisa menjadi host dalam acara yang luar biasa ini. Webinar ini diselenggarakan oleh I2MI, PT KHN, dan Bentley System dengan tema Accelerate Delivery Leveraging BIM and Structural Design Synergy, di mana kita akan membahas bagaimana sinergi antara desain, struktur, dan BIM dapat mempercepat proses delivery proyek ya. Dan sebelum kita mulai masuk ke sesi utama, izinkan saya memperkenalkan sedikit tentang I2MI, Bapak Ibu. I2MI adalah asosiasi baru yang bergerak di bidang BIM atau Building Information Modeling. Asosiasi ini lahir dari semangat kolaborasi dan inovasi dengan tujuan utama untuk mendorong pemanfaatan BIM secara lebih luas, inklusif, dan terstruktur di Indonesia. Dan salah satu program unggulan dari I2MI adalah penyelenggaraan webinar secara rutin, baik untuk para anggota ataupun untuk publik secara umum. Webinar seperti hari ini yang sedang kita lakukan menjadi wadah berbagi pengetahuan, pengalaman, dan praktek terbaik untuk para profesional dan pelaku industri konstruksi. Nah, untuk informasi selengkapnya mengenai kegiatan I2MI, termasuk program pelatihan, kolaborasi industri, ataupun publikasi teknis, Bapak atau Ibu bisa mengunjungi media sosial resmi kami, baik di Instagram maupun di LinkedIn. Oke, eh, sebagai pengingat Bapak Ibu, bagi peserta yang belum mengisi absensi, silakan mengakses link absensi yang tersedia di kolom chat. Nanti tim admin akan eh, memberikan linknya. Absensi ini sangat penting ya untuk mendapatkan sertifikat sebagai bukti partisipasi Bapak Ibu dalam mengikuti webinar hari ini. Tanpa berlama-lama, sebelum kita masuk ke sesi webinar, kita akan ada sambutan dari Ketua I2MI, Bapak Erika. Bapak Erika, eh, coba tes suaranya, Pak.
Tes, tes.
Oke, ya,
Oke.
silakan Pak Erika, sambutannya.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Aldo. Bentar. Eh, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua.
Waalaikumsalam.
Selamat siang, Bapak Ibu semua yang telah bergabung di webinar ini. Yang saya hormati narasumber kita, Ibu Arita Loh, selaku Product Success Manager dari Bentley System. Pak Noldi selaku BIM Practitioner, Pak Noldi udah hadir ya. Kemudian Ibu Cindy Chandra selaku Product Sales Engineer dari Bentley System. Moderator kita Ibu Nessie Nevada serta Bapak Ibu sekalian. Terima kasih atas waktunya. Kita bisa kumpul secara virtual di acara Accelerate Delivery Leveraging BIM and Structural Design Synergy, gitu ya. Jadi memang isunya memang bagaimana kita menggunakan BIM untuk meningkatkan efisiensi secara kolaborasi di dunia konstruksi. Jadi saat ini BIM ini bukan hanya untuk desain tapi structure juga perlu dipercepat dengan BIM gitu kan. Karena itu begitu kemarin diajak ngobrol dengan Pak Noli dan Bentley, kami sangat interest gitu, sangat tertarik sekali. Ya udah kita adakan sesi webinar. Harapannya setelah sesi ini kita akan lanjut ke sesi training yang lebih intens itu kan, bukan cuma webinar tapi training yang lebih intens. Jadi bagaimana tadi itu yang disampaikan Mas Aldo, bagaimana kita bisa kolaborasi agar penerapan BIM ini bisa memberikan manfaat yang nyata untuk perkembangan dunia konstruksi di Indonesia saat ini. Demikian dari saya, jadi kami yakin semoga acara ini bisa memberikan manfaat bagi Bapak Ibu sekalian dan industri konstruksi di Indonesia. Demikian Mas Aldo, terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya,
Waalaikumsalam
waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Ya,
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
terima kasih banyak atas sambutannya kepada Ketua Umum I2MI, Bapak Erika. Tanpa berlama-lama, mari kita mulai sesi pertama. Untuk sesi pertama ini, saya serahkan acara webinar ini kepada moderator satu kita, yaitu Ibu Nesi Nevada, yang akan memandu jalannya diskusi dan memperkenalkan para speaker atau pembicara kita. Silakan Ibu Nesi, waktu dan tempat dipersilakan.
Terima kasih, Pak Saldo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk
Waalaikumsalam.
kita semua. Pada siang hari ini, eh, Kurnia Handasa Nevada sebagai Bentley Channel Partner di Indonesia mendapatkan karunia besar untuk berkolaborasi dengan I2MI yang kami banggakan. Terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya kepada yang kami hormati Bapak Erika Ferdinata STMM selaku Ketua Umum I2MI, yang kami hormati Bapak Insinyur Hidayat Karim selaku Waketum 3 Bidang Pelatihan dan Sertifikasi Pelatihan, Webinar, Workshop, dan Sertifikasi, dan yang kami hormati Bapak Saldo Maulana selaku Deputi Sekretari Jenderal I2MI beserta jajaran, dan kepada peserta webinar yang kami banggakan. Perkenalkan, nama saya Nancy Nevada dari PT Kurnia Handasa Nevada, adalah Bentley Channel Partner di Indonesia. Bentley adalah perusahaan engineering software yang sudah berdiri sejak 41 tahun yang lalu, berpusat di Amerika. This afternoon, allow me to guide you through our webinar with the theme Accelerate Delivery, Leveraging BIM and Structural Design Synergy. Our webinar agenda today will begin with a presentation from the speakers, followed by Q&A session. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce our first speaker, Aritra Lot, as a Product Success Manager of Bentley Systems. Hi, Aritra. How are you today? Aritra, can
Hello,
you
hello.
hear?
Am I
Hi.
audible?
Yeah. How are
Hello,
you?
hello, everyone. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really
Okay,
excited
Aritra.
for you.
Yeah, thank you, Aditra. Aditra, now the time is yours to deliver your presentation. Thank you.
Sure, Nessie. I'll quickly start sharing my screen and just let me know if you can see it, okay? My screen is visible. I mean, you will not have much to see. It will just be a black screen.
It's still black screen.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Now you can see it, right?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
All right, all right. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on leveraging BIM and structural design synergy. Before getting on to the presentation, I would like to thank everyone for this opportunity, and I would also like to introduce myself. I am Oritra, and I am a product success manager with Bentley. I'm working with Bentley for the past 7.5 years now, and I deal with structural products like Stat Pro, RCDC, RAM Concept, RAM Structural System, and RAM Connection. So basically, the STAD and RAM product is what I primarily look into. Now, I will quickly start with the presentation that I have to show you. I'm excited to share and present to you structural worksuit. Though today we are mainly focusing on the BIM and STAD interoperability, but still I would like to show you, okay, let me minimize this. But still I would like to share with you the structural worksuit. Now, structural worksuit is basically an umbrella of product. It's an array of product, if you can say. And it not only comprises of STAT, but it also comprises of different STAT and RAM products. For example, you can see we have STAT Pro, we have STAT Advanced Concrete Designer, STAT Foundation Advanced, RAM Connection, RAM Concept, RAM Structural System, RAM Elements, and Adina. And the main attraction of today's session will be I2MI Analytical Synchronizer. Now, STAT Pro we generally use for creating our model, structural element, or any model, be it steel structure or concrete structure, or if you're using timber or aluminium, any structure that you use, we use STAT Pro. STAT Pro is a finite element analysis software which helps you analyze your structural building, and also we also use STAT Pro for designing the steel members. For concrete, for the structural components of the concrete part, we move on to STAT Advanced Concrete Designer, or RCDC, where we generate where we design and detail our structural components like our beams, slabs, shear walls. Everything we can do, even the columns that we can do in RCDC. And for the foundation, we move on to STAT Foundation Advanced, which is the new STAT Foundation that we have come up with. For the connection design, so if we are creating any steel structure, then steel design is never complete without connection. So for that, we will have to design the connections. For that, we move to RAM connection. For any flat slab or any post-tension slab, we go to RAM concept. RAM concept is also capable of designing and detailing your elevated mat and your RC slabs as well. And we also use RAM structural system for high-rise, high-rise buildings, any frame type structures. We are comfortable in analyzing it in RAM structural system. RAM elements also helps in analyzing the product and analyzing the structures. And finally, we have Adina, which is a very advanced finite element analysis software where we deal with different non-linearities. We also deal with material non-linearity in Adina. So for that, we use Adina. Any dynamic analysis, advanced dynamic analysis also you can do in Adina. Next, we have I2MI Analytical Synchronizer. We basically use I2MI Analytical Synchronizer for our interoperability. So it is also a cloud-based facility where we use it for the interoperability of STAT Pro or any structural element, a structural model with any third-party software. We also use the I2MI Analytical Synchronizer for the interoperability of Bentley products as well, but also this is also used for third-party software interoperability. Now, you might have a question that why am I talking about structural worksuit? So generally, our projects are something similar to this, right? We not only just simply create our model, we will have to analyze and design our model as well. So our model can be simply be a concrete structure, can be simply be a industrial shed or any steel structure, or it can be a combination of our steel structure and concrete structure, right? So in such a case, I'll show you how we are using structural worksuit. If you're having a product, if you're having any project, to be honest, and if you plan to start your model and complete it, STAT Pro, we do not recommend you to only use STAT Pro. We recommend you to use all the different products that we have to offer. Like for example, obviously people there are several components of it. First, we will have to analyze and design the steel members. We will have to design the foundations. We will have to design and detail the concrete slabs. We will have to design the steel connections, the concrete column, beam, and the shear walls will also have to be designed and detailed. Then after that, for the steel struct part, we will also have to generate the general arrangement drawings, right? So these are all the different components of the that are involved in creating your project. Okay. So for that, first, for analyzing your steel structure, for analyzing both steel and concrete structure, we can use StatPro. And StatPro is also capable of designing your steel members. Once that is done, we will move on to Steel Autodrafter, which is also present with StatPro. That is used for generating for generating your general arrangement drawings. Okay. Next, after you have created your steel model, you have generated the general arrangement drawing, you will go ahead with the steel connection design. For that, we move on to ram connection. And after you're done with the steel part, let's move on to the concrete part, where we will design and detail. We have done the analysis in StatPro already. Next, we will design and detail the concrete components like column, beams, shear walls, and the slabs. For that, we can use RCDC. If you are looking strictly to design your post-tension slabs or your flat slab or RCC slabs, you can move ahead with a RAM concept as well. And finally, without foundation, our project will never be complete. So for that, we will move on to New Start Foundation Advanced. So these are all the products that we need to complete our project. That is the reason I have introduced you to Structural Worksuite. And I think by the end of this slide, you have a fair idea about the products that you need to include in your project and also which product is capable of doing what. Okay, now let us move on to our next product, which is StatPro. Okay, the latest version of StatPro is StatPro 2025. And let's talk about the versatility of StatPro, like in which sectors can we actually use StatPro? So StatPro can be used in your building sectors, power plants, bridges, in case of your industrial shades, renewable, heavy civil industries, airports, oil and gas sector, mining sectors, and even transmission towers can be done in StatPro. So basically, you can name any of the sectors and we have StatPro to help you in that particular sector. If I talk about the multi-material design codes that we have, so StatPro is capable of designing your hot rolled steel sections, cold form steels, concrete, aluminium, and timber. And these are all the design codes that are available in StatPro. And when you buy StatPro, you don't have to buy the code separately. So all these design codes, so more than 90 multi-material design codes that we have of different editions, all these are already included within StatPro, and you have the provision or you are entitled to use all of them. Anything that you wish to use, you can use them. So let's quickly have a look at all the advanced analysis capabilities of StatPro. So if you are looking to use StatPro, then StatPro is capable of performing static analysis, dynamic analysis. Under dynamic analysis, you can use response spectrum, time history analysis, even you can go for the model analysis. The third one is we are capable of dealing with media data analysis, geometric nonlinear analysis, nonlinear capable analysis as well. Dynamic steady state analysis can also be done in StatPro. You can do advanced buckling analysis, pure response spectrum. In case of time history analysis, you can perform synthetic time history analysis, pushover analysis. And for solving your eigensolution, you can have you can choose between Lange's, Arnoldi, or Ritz vector, and these are basically all the different analysis capabilities that we have in StatPro. Now, every year we come up with new inclusions and new modifications in StatPro. So let's quickly have a look at what are the new inclusions that we have added in this StatPro. Firstly, as I've already mentioned to you in my previous model, that we use different products, right? We use different products to complete different part of the project. Like, for example, if I talk about foundation design, so for the foundation design, after we have created our model in StatPro, we can directly go to foundation design from here. This is already linked with StatPro. We can directly move to Stat Foundation, and there we can design the foundation. So, what happens is we don't have to manually input the reactions or the analysis data to foundation. Stat Foundation Advanced will automatically import all the analysis data from StatPro itself, and the accuracy is it's very high. We have actually tested it while we have come up with this new product. So this data transfer is the accuracy of the data transfer is very high. So the new inclusion here is that StatPro has been updated to work more closely with the latest Stat Foundation Advanced, which is the Stat Foundation 2025. And this basically this Stat Foundation Advanced helps us with designing foundations like mat, isolated footing, combined footing, and pile caps. So it basically uses the support reactions from the StatPro model. Now, previously, we had Stat Foundation Advanced version 9. So this foundation, previously when you used to click on this foundation workflow, it used to redirect us to the older version of Stat Foundation. But now in Stat 2025, it will redirect us to the new Stat Foundation 2025. And that is one of the main inclusion. And we can also import several StatPro models into one foundation project. We don't have to create separate foundation separate foundation files for separate models. If we have a single project in which we have multiple structures, then all can be incorporated under the same foundation project. This import process is easier to control, and this basically lets you choose where the model comes from, which results to use, and also where to place in a project. So all this information can be tackled very easily in new Stat Foundation Advanced. Next, we have also come up with the improved serviceability design. Now, if you are designing steel structure, then you already know there are two main things that we check. One is the strength, the other is serviceability. So under strength, we basically make sure that each part is strong enough to handle the forces on it. And in case of serviceability, we make sure that the structure doesn't bend too much, which could cause to cracks and all. So this is also called deflection check. Now, to perform a deflection check, StatPro needs to know the real start and real end of your, of your member of the beam, right? So if you see, this is a single beam in case of a truss member. Say if this is the bottom chord is a single beam, but in StatPro, what happens is whenever it detects any nodes in between, this entire beam will be divided into small fragments, small analytical parts. But in reality, this is a single beam, and we want to check the deflection check for this entire beam. In such a case, what we will have to do is we will have to instruct the program the real start and real end of this beam. For that, there are two parameters that are used, which is the DJ1 and DJ2. DJ1 marks the start node of your member, and DJ2 marks the end of your member. Now, we perform this check for the local axis, like both the local Y and local Z direction. So in case of your model, we will have to perform this check in the local Y and local Z direction. And now you have the provision to add the start and end point of your members in both the local and local Z direction. Okay. Since doing this manually for many members can take a lot of time, so a new tool has been added to quickly set these values, and this is one of the main, prominent inclusion in new Stat 2025. Next is advanced combination rules. So this is very important for users who are using Eurocode. So, you know, in Eurocode, basically you have the provision to add basically in EN 1990-2002, you have the provision to map the load categories and map them to the Eurocode action. Like you can mention which is your permanent or variable load instead of just how stat does it. Stat basically tells you to mark which is your dead load or live load. But in case of Eurocode, if you are using it, and if you are using, if you want to mention which is your permanent or variable load, that can be done in this new advanced combination rule. Okay. This new system includes 11 Eurocode combination rules as of now, and you can customize your own combinations using Eurocode load types like permanent, pre-stress, accidental, seismic, and variable if needed. Another improvement that we have come up is the improved material database. Previously in StartPro, StartPro gave users a few basic materials like the generic steel and concrete, while you could add more materials, but that was very limited. Now the database manager has been improved to include a library of standard materials that you can see from the screenshot. And just like you already used to do in standard profiles. So basically in standard profile database, we could add our profiles and we had to calculate the section properties. Now in a similar way, we can add different materials that we want, but we will have to manually calculate, the Poisson's ratio, damping, all these information you can provide. And based on it, we can create our new material. This makes it very easier and faster to choose the commonly used material. Everyone has a common material that they commonly reach out to. So those you can use very fast. I mean, use it very easily, and it can be done very faster in case of your model. So this is basically how you can do it. This is the same example that I showed you, how you can add your material. You can simply add it from here. You can name your material, the category, the Poisson, damping, the density, all these informations you can provide. And from the next time when you select the material, you just simply can reach out to your material that you commonly use or that you have created. Okay, so that was all that I had to show or tell you about the new STAD 2025. Now, let us move on to the interoperability of BIM with StartPro. Now, before getting onto the interoperability, there is one thing that I would like to mention. So, previously we used to use ISM, which was Integrated Structural Modeling. ISM was Bentley's desktop level interoperability framework, and it basically focused on file-based workflows where structural models could be exchanged via an ISM repository. So whenever we used to create any model, we used to create the .ism.bgn file. For example, Stat could be interoperable with Revit or Tekla. So whenever we are taking any model from Revit, we create one .ism.bgn that we pull to Stat. Now, I2 Synchronizer, we use I2 Synchronizer. It's the same thing, like I2 Synchronizer is built on the same idea, but for the cloud. So instead of exchanging data via local ISM repository, the I2 Synchronizer publishes models to the cloud or iModel. We have the provision to export and import our file from the local file as well. But it still performs a mapping or classification steps very similar to what ISM used to do, but the output goes to the I2 ecosystem instead of just another desktop tool. So that is the main thing. So if you have already used this interoperability, then you might notice a change. Like previously, we used to do it via ISM. Now we do it via I2 Analytical Synchronizer. That is the main reason why I mentioned to you this. Okay, so this is how we do it. This is the I2MI analytical synchronizer. We have the interoperability. Like today, we are basically planning to show you the interoperability of Revit with STAAD. And you not only have it with STAAD, you can have this interoperability with RAM structural system, RAM concept. Okay, so basically there are two, what happens in cases like this is we use a technology for sharing the structural engineering project information among structural modeling or your analysis or design in case of drafting and detailing applications. So ISM is very similar to building information modeling, which we all call it as know it as BIM, but it focuses on the information that is important in the design, construction, and modification of the load-bearing components of buildings, bridges, and other structures. So there are two related purposes of this. One is the transfer of structural information between application, and the second is the coordination of the structural information between the application. Okay. Now, I2MI analytical synchronizer basically helps us break out our application data silo, provide clarity to our workflow, and helps our team collaborate more effectively. And we can sync our models from variety of applications, including open buildings, ProStructure, Revit, STAAD, RAM, AutoPy, Tekla, Stacks, anything. Okay. So as I've already mentioned that there are two ways of doing it. There are two modules of I2MI services. One is via cloud, the other is from a local file. Now the file-based workflow basically allows us to synchronize our model locally, whereas the cloud-based workflow allows us to synchronize our model to the cloud. Okay. So in today's session, we are only going to focus on the file-based workflow. And so here I have shown you, it's the same way how we can do it. It's the same way how basically we will first review our model, and I will show how we can map our different structural elements. And finally, we will be able to pull it to StatPro. This is how the interoperability looks like. So this is my model. This is the model, and this is how once we have pushed it to the I2MI model, this is how it looks, and finally we will be able to pull it to StatPro. Okay, so since I have already recorded this part, not the entire thing, but I have recorded the part where I have opened the third-party software, and I have shown you how we can map the structural elements and bring it to StatPro. That part I have shown to you because of my organization policy. And I have not directly opened the software, but I have recorded this part for you. So I'll just play. This is Autodesk Revit that you can see. And here we have a tab called Bentley, where we have an option called I2MI services. Under I2MI services, we basically will push our file to, we basically will push our file to the I2MI services. So what happens here is when we push, we are sending the latest version of our design files from our desktop to the project I model. And that is necessary. Once that is done, once we have pushed our model, we will be able to add it, we will save it. And here if I show you, I'm just pushing my model. And this is how I will be able to map it. So whenever we are bringing the Revit model to StatPro, we are basically mapping. Okay, so you will see different mapping we are doing. We are going for load case export mappings. We will go for material mapping and structural components as well. So basically mapping refers to the process of transferring and aligning elements or materials or structural properties between the two programs so that the model behaves correctly. For example, Revit uses we are using a different section in case of Revit. or maybe the section is the same, but it uses a different name. Okay, so Revit and Stat both uses different internal data structures, naming conventions, and also element types. So what happens is whenever you are bringing the model from Revit to Stat will be able to recognize it since they uses different naming conventions or internal data structures, right? So for that, we will have to map so that um, all the elements that you had modeled in Revit are correctly interpreted by StatPro's analysis engine. So, for example, Revit uses families and types like W12 or 26 section based on the US or international standard. So we will have to make sure that that particular section is getting correctly read by StatPro. For that, we will have to map it to the right nomenclature. Okay. So here you can see I'm mapping the load cases. Similarly, I'll map the materials, and this is the columns. Okay. So all the ones here you can see some of them will be coming to us or will be read by StatPro as a UPD table or the user defined table, but that is fine. We will be able to read it. After that is done, we will export the members. And this is how the export is happening. So the process is very simple. We will, once we open Revit, we go to the Bentley tab, which will automatically be there. Once we enter the Bentley tab, we will go to I2M services. Under I2M services, we will simply we will save this model. We will push our file, and after we have pushed our file, we will simply map the loads, the materials, the sections. Once everything will be mapped, the data will start to export. Okay, so here we can see the ISM Revit plugin is being used, and finally the model has been successfully pushed. Okay, now once this is done, so this is how you can see analytical, this I2 analytical synchronizer is going to look like. So from here, you will be able to add certain, suppose here you can see all the different components are getting shown to you. So whichever component you want to export, that you can select from here. Excuse me, and whichever component you do not wish to export, that you can simply omit at this stage. Okay, say suppose I do not want to export the top roof, or maybe this component, this part. In this stage, in the I2 analytical synchronizer, I have the provision to either include or omit a particular component. Okay. Now, once this is done, we have successfully pushed our model Now we will open StatPro and we will simply pull it from the I2 analytical synchronizer. So we can only pull our model in the physical modeler. We have the provision to import in the analytical part as well, but I am showing you in the physical modeler. So StatPro comes with two different modules. One is the analytical module, the other is a physical module. Okay, so here, if I open the physical module, it looks something like this. In StatPro physical module, there is also one option I2 services, just like Revit. So there is also one option like I2 services. If you click on the I2 services, you will have the provision to pull your model. Okay. Yes, this is the one that I was looking. So we have, whenever you're importing any model from any third-party software, whenever you're importing any model, you will pull it. And in case you are exporting your model, you will push it. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, we will pull it. Okay, once we have pulled it, there are two options. There are two ways how we can do it, as I've mentioned. either you can use the cloud thing or you can use the local file. So in my case, I will use the local file. So here you can select the .ism.btn that we have created, and you will simply open it. Once we open it, it will import the entire model. Now, till here, this is the process. Now I will quickly start sharing the model with you. Can you confirm if you can see the StatPro model that I'm showing?
Yes, can see, Aritra.
Okay, thank you. So this is the model that you can see. So this is the 3D rendering. If you wish to change the view, this is how you can see the model has been exported. And we imported it to StatPro, and the same model was shown to you in Revit. If I go to the catalog, you can see these are all the different materials that has been used. These are all the sections. And if I analyze, you can simply analyze your model from the view tab, and then you will be able to bring it to the analytical modeler. Now in here, you also have the provision to add your loadings. So if you want to add any particular load, you have the provision to do that as well. So here you can see we have a live load, we have a snow load that is already there. In addition to it, if you want to add any load case, you definitely can add your own load case in here. Or if you, some of us, we also prefer to add the load cases and load combinations in the analytical modeler. In such a case, you will simply go to the analytical modeler, return to analytical modeling, and it will take you to the analytical modeler. This is how it will do. This particular model will take a lot of time because it has got a lot of plate elements already attached to it. So what I will do is I will take a very similar model that also I have imported from Revit, and it's the same model almost, you can see. I've just taken a part of it and I have already imported it to analytical modeler. Okay, so this is how the model will be imported. You can go ahead with the properties. You can see all the different properties that I've added. Just give me a moment. Let me. Okay, so you can see all the different properties that we have added in here. All the UPD files I've mentioned you that whenever we are importing any model, some of them comes as a UPD file, user defined profile. Okay. And the plate elements, they are also added some plate thickness to it. Now, if I go to the loading, you will see that all the loads are also imported. Your dead load, live load, along with some combinations are imported. In my previous model, I had live load and snow load, but in this model, I have the dead load and live load. Once you have added all the load cases, and you also have the provision to modify your model at any given point. You can add some supports, or you can add any release conditions to your model, whatever you want, you can change it in this position. Once that is done, under analysis and design, you will simply run the analysis. So we need to analyze our model. Just excuse me because I have two different monitors here, and you can see my model is getting analyzed. Now, what I intend to do from here is, this is the model that I have created in Revit, and then for the structural design and detailing part, I have imported it to StatPro. Now, in StatPro, I have the provision to add additional loads that will be acting on my model if I wish. If I don't want, that is absolutely fine. Okay, I will have the provision to analyze my model, and from here, what I'll do is I will design the connections, and I will design some of the structural components, the concrete structural components that I have in my model. That is what I am intending to show in today's session. Since my model has a lot of plate elements, so it is taking some time to to get analyzed. Okay. Now, so first let's start with connection design. So if I go to the properties and if I show you some of the materials, so I have got steel, some steel members as well. So those I am planning to create for those I'm planning to design the connection design. So as I've already mentioned in the workflow, you don't have to go anywhere. In the workflow in StartPro itself, there is a provision to design the connections. And if I click on the connection design, automatically it will direct me to RAM connection, which is integrated within StartPro. So what is the main USP of this is you don't have to manually add the input, the reactions or the member end forces or anything in here. You will simply see that your model is getting transferred to RAM connection. Now, if you wish to see which are your beam column flange joints, you can see that. You can see that these are my beam column flange joints. If there are any other beam column web joints, that also you can see that these are the beam column web joints. Okay, so say for example, if I go to the beam column flange joint and if I just view the selected objects, if I go to 3D rendering, if I expand this here, and if I expand this even, so from here you can see start RAM concept is automatically detecting which joint is my beam column flange joint. And I mean, these are the joints that are present in my model, and it is already detecting that this is my beam column flange joint. Similarly, if I go to the view hole structure, if I go to connection design, if I show you the beam column web joints, if I view the selected objects, if I perform the 3D rendering, here also you can see this joint is through my web. So RAM connection is automatically identifying the joints based on the geometry that we have created. This model was actually created in Revit, right? And from there we have imported to StartPro, and from StartPro we have analyzed, and then we have got it to RAM connection. So you can see how smooth is this interoperability, right? And if I go to the view, if I go to display hole structure, so this is the entire thing. This is the entire model. Now for this session, I have already created a beam column flange joint. I have already designed one connection for you. If I double click on it, you will see it has opened somewhere. This is the joint that I have selected, and you can see the demand versus capacity ratio. Okay, so these all are marked in green, which means all of them have passed. So the limiting value was, as usual, that we know is 1, and this is how the joint looks like. Okay, this is the connection that we have designed, and this is the line diagram that you can see, which helps you to understand the connection better. And if I want from here, this is called the connection pad. In here, you will be able to make changes. So if you want to change it to a weld, you will see it is getting changed to a weld, but the demand versus capacity ratio changes, which is very obvious. Okay. So based on the connection, this demand versus capacity ratio will be automatically updated. And from here also, you have the provision to select the support type if you want to change the top plate welding, if it's fillet, or if you want a full penetration. All this information we can change from you. The pitch, the gauge of the bolts, the number of bolts in a row, that can be changed. So all this information can be manipulated from here. Now, once this is done, I have the provision to check the report. So this is how the report is going to look like. I can also fetch a detailed report with the design calculation. Just showing, I think it is very small. The font size is very small. I'm trying to increase the font size. That might help you. Yes. So you can see a detailed calculation along with the formulas are shown to you with the codal reference. So you definitely can save it in a doc format and produce it to your clients. So the interoperability is that smooth. That's all I wanted to show you. And you can also see how easily you can get all the different reports from StatPro. So this is what I had to show you for RAM connection. Now, similarly, you can do it for the base plates. You can get the report for the base plates, for any, if you have any braces, that also can be done. So that is a different discussion. Now, if I go back to my analytical modeler, and this time if I want to design the beams, say, so let's go to the advanced concrete designer, which will take me to RCDC. So here, let's take the beams, for instance. So it will take some time to open RCDC. Just allow me some time.
Hi, Aritra.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, there's a feedback from participants. Can we go a bit slower?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
okay.
you can let me know where should I start, and I can go back to that same step.
Okay, just a bit slower when you're speaking. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
Okay, so this was the model that I had shown you. Wait, it is coming. This was the model, right, that we have taken from Revit. Okay, it is showing in a bit weird way. So this was the model that I had taken from Revit. I have imported it to StatPro. The transition, I have showed it to you how smooth the transition was. And after you have taken your model to StatPro, you will analyze your model. Okay. Why do we need to analyze our model? That is because whenever we are moving ahead with any other workflow, be it RAM connection or RCDC or RAM concept, anything, we need the product or we need the next product, which is in this case RCDC. RCDC will actually read the analysis data, the membrane forces, the reactions, everything will be read by RCDC. And based on it, the data transfer will happen. And for that, we need to analyze our StatPro model first. In case of the RAM connection that you had seen, I could actually see which are my beam column plunge joint, which are my beam column web joints. How RAM connection could do it was by reading the geometry. Now, if you do not analyze your model, RAM connection is not capable to detect or to understand the StatPro model. So that is why it is absolutely necessary to analyze your model. Now, in this case, what we are doing, we will just design the slabs. Okay. So this is the model that we have created in Revit, and I'm just using the American standard, just using the American metric standard. So here there are different elements or different modules that you can say of RCDC that we can use. So in the design element, say I want to design just the beams as of now. So I will select the beams, and at which level I want to design the beams, that is what I am selecting. Now, in this case, I can choose multiple levels at once, or I can choose a single level. When do we select multiple levels? If we know that multiple levels have the same beam arrangement, in such a case, we select multiple levels. Okay, so if I select at minus 0.002 meter, this is the y coordinate. If I create a project, here you will see that RCDC will read the analysis. Here you can see reading analysis model. So RCDC will read the section data, the member properties, member forces, and based on it will update the model. That is the reason I mentioned to you that it is absolutely necessary that whenever you move to any workflow, be it RCDC or RAM connection or RAM concept, you will have to analyze your model, because the next program reads the analysis data. Okay, so it will take some time. It will take some time for RCDC to read the data. I have a question from Mr. Saldo. I was just looking at the question. So where he mentioned that during this interoperability, if I make any changes in the StartPro model, will it be automatically reflected in the Revit model? So the answer to your question is, if you make any changes to your StartPro model, in the same way, you will push your model to the I2MI, and in I2MI, from I2MI you will again map it, and then you will pull it to Revit. In that way, once you map it and you pull it back to Revit, then it will be updated. But if you just create some changes in StartPro and then you plan to open that same model in Revit, then you will not see any changes. For that, you will have to make sure that again, after you create or make any changes to your StartPro model, you push that modified StartPro model to I2MI services, and from there you map it to the relevant, you map it to the right mappings, and from there you will be able to pull it to Revit. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so this is how RCDC looks like. So this is the beam arrangement of my model at minus 0.002 meter. Okay, so these are all the different beams that you can see, and these are all the different. This is the length, breadth, and depth of my particular beam, and these are the analytical member numbers. Okay. Now, here you can see the depth of flange. This DF stands for depth of flange. If you are taking into consideration any T or L beams, in such a case, you can use the depth of flange options. If your beam is at a certain height, then we can mention the the top of the beam in mm, how much at what height it is, or if it is at a lower position, then that also we can mention. Now, once the beams are there, under settings tab, we will go to general and reinforcement settings. What happens in general and reinforcement setting? We basically instruct the program what settings we need to make in here to perform the design of the beams that we have selected. Like, for example, we can instruct the program that we want to ignore torsion below a certain level value. That can be done. If you have any seismic load acting on your structure, or if your structure is located in a seismic prone zone, then obviously we will have to go for ductile design. For that, we can select what kind of frame it is. Is it a special frame or it's an intermediate frame? And based on it, the phi value can be selected. Next week, you can select if you have a flanged beam. So generally, we consider the flanged action to the secondary beams. Now, you can consider the flanged action to the secondary beams or for all beams. So that you can select. There are scenarios where your beams are designed as your column. There's a certain value, and if it exceeds a certain value, then we design our beams just like our column, where we have stirrups and all. Okay, so basically we use ties. So there are certain scenarios like that. I'm not getting into the details of it, but from here you will be able to make that changes. Next is the detailing setting. What kind of rebars you want to use? Do you want to use a mix and match of rebars? Say suppose in the top reinforcement of your beam, you have to use two different rebars. Do you want to use two different rebars, or you want to use the maximum dia, or you have the provision to use the minimum dia based on the AST required, the area of steel requirement. You will have to choose what kind of detailing you want to use. If you use best fit, then a combination of rebars will be used. If you use the maximum dia, then a higher, just one dia will be used, but that is also the higher rebar will be used. Higher dia rebar will be used. If you use the minimum dia, then the minimum rebar dia will be used. And similarly, this is for the top detailing part. This is for the bottom detailing part. You have the same option, but here, obviously, in the bottom, we do not use the minimum values of the rebar. That is the reason we have best fit, which is a combination, or the maximum dia. Next is the percentage of steel can be measured from here, the minimum, maximum, and the nominal steel. If we want to perform the crack width check, that also can be done from here. Now, here there is one very important criteria where we choose which rebars should be used for our detailing. Suppose you do not have access to 13 rebar dia. So you will unselect it from here, and in the output, where you get the detailing, you will not see any 13 rebar used. Okay. Or if you do not have 57, you want to use the highest rebar, which is of 32 mm. So that you can do from here. And based on it, you will choose the main steel rebar, the minimum and maximum, the shear steel rebar, minimum and maximum, the side piece reinforcement, minimum, maximum, all this information you can choose. Once you click on, okay, so the maximum was 13. I cannot use 13 because I have unselected 13 here. Now, once this is done, we will go to rebar curtailment. So here, basically, we can make changes related to our curtailment settings. So for the top steel curtailment location, the bottom steel curtailment locations can be chosen from here. Okay. After the curtailment, if I go to the detailing and drawing, so here you can instruct the program related to your detailing and drawing that will be produced by the program. Now, this has got nothing to do with your design, but only the output, the drawing that will be generated. This basically controls the drawing. Okay. Next is the preferred rebar spacing. Now this depends on the depth of the width of the beam. So for each beam, you can see that if the rebar is less than 16, then this number of rebars we should use. So if the rebar is less than 16 mm, then we use 4 rebars with a spacing of 52. And similarly, if it is greater than 20 for a 30, for a 300 mm beam width, we will use 3 rebars with 80 spacing. So all these informations you can have, and you can also edit from here. Okay. Once that is done, we will just add the loads. So RCDC will automatically detect the loads. Remember, we had added dead load and live load in my statue model that got transferred from the Revit file. So RCDC has already read it, that I have my dead and live load. And from here, I will be able to add the load cases. So these are the load combinations that I have added. These load combinations I had already added in my starting model. I have RCDC have read the same thing and I have just simply added it to RCDC. Once I click on OK, I will simply design my beams. Okay. So these are the reports. So some of my beams have failed. I have purposely kept some of the beams as failed and some of them have passed, just to show you how it looks like. So the ones that have failed are shown to me in red, and the ones that have passed are shown to me in green. I have purposely kept this to show you how it looks like. So if any of my beam fails, so what we can do is we can go to reports and we can go to failure diagnostic. And the failure diagnostic, it will actually show me where it has failed. So you can see this is failing in shear, the tau C max. That is what we will have to check. And based on the failure diagnostics, we will make our changes to our beam and we can make it pass. Okay. And if I just go to any other beam, so here you can see this one has passed, the beam B3. You can see that each beam is divided into 3 parts, the left part, mid part, and right part. Similarly, the bottom reinforcement is provided for the bottom part, and the top reinforcement is provided here. Along with it, I have got the shear reinforcement in all the 3 directions, and this is the side piece reinforcement. Now, similarly, if I go to report and if I go to the elevation drawing of, say, beam B3, where I want to generate the elevation, the cross section, I want to see the section mark and the anchorage. If I click on OK, this is how the report will be generated for this particular beam. This is the cross section with the detailing that you can see. This you can save as a, give me a moment, let me save it. This you can save as a DXF format, and you can open it to any CAD software and you can make your changes, or the DXF format, you can also produce it to your client. Similarly, if I go to reports, if I go to the design summary, then I will be able to get the design summary of all the beams that have passed. So here you can see the flexure design calculation, the shear design calculation, the side piece reinforcement, all these calculations are shown to me. Again, I can save it as a HTML file and I can produce it to my client. If I want to go for a design calculation, a detailed design calculation for any particular, I've just chosen beam B3. So here you can see the detailed design calculation is shown to me. And the maximum spacing criteria, the transverse reinforcement, all these informations are shown to me. Now, you can also see that all the clauses or all the clauses from the code has been referred to in here. This is the detailed design calculation. Obviously, you can save it as a HTML file. And finally, I can show you the bill of quantities. So if I select the bill of quantities, if I make it, you have the provision to change your currency. So if I change it to Singaporean dollar, you have the provision to make some changes from here. So this is how the bill of quantity is going to look like. Okay. Now, in the similar way, let's generate the bar bending schedule for, let's just generate it for a single beam. So this is how the bar bending schedule is generated. So here you can see the cutting length, the bar shapes, and the bar numbers, everything is mentioned. along with the beam drawing. Okay. So this is how RCDC is capable of generating your project. Now the design and detailing of your beam. I have just shown you for a beam. The same can be done for columns as well. So by just taking your model just from from Revit, you can simply take it to StatPro, and from StatPro you can design and detail your concrete components. You can design your steel part. You can design your steel connections. Everything you can do it in StatPro. Once that is done, as someone has mentioned to me, how do I if this is say this is the model that I have, and if I have made any changes in this model, okay, what I will do is I will go to I2MI services. It is taking some time to open. So basically from I2MI services, I will be able to push my model back, and then in Revit, I will again pull it to see the changes that I've created. So this was the entire procedure. Yes, this is the option. So if you click on I2MI services, you will be able to. So while importing the model from Revit, I had pulled the file. Now, while I will export it back to Revit, I will push this file, and again, I will perform the same process of mapping it, and then I will pull it back to Revit. And that is how I will be able to see the modification that I have created in SAP. So you can see how seamless this process was. Just by doing some few simple steps, I could bring it to StatPro, make all the changes, get all the detailing and design, and then I have the provision to take it back to Revit as well. So this was the entire workflow that I wanted to share with you. I hope you found this informative, and if you have any question, please feel free to share with me. I think, Anesi, you're on mute.
Bu Desi masih mute. Oke.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aritra, for your insightful presentation. We truly appreciate the knowledge you shared with us today. Bapak dan Ibu, mari kita lanjut pada pembicara berikutnya, yaitu Mbak Cindy. Mbak Cindy dalam hal ini sebagai Product Sales Engineer Structural dan Civil dari Bentley System. Mbak Cindy, time is yours.
Thank you, Bu Nesi. Untuk share screen-nya apakah sudah terlihat? Mungkin Bu Nesi bisa bantu confirm. Sudah ya?
Sudah terlihat, Mbak. Ya.
Oke, thank you Bu Nesi. Baik Bapak Ibu, terima kasih sudah hadir pada sesi siang ini. Mungkin sebelum kita masuk sesi Q&A, saya akan sharing sedikit secara singkat saja, sedikit rangkuman mengenai apa yang di-sharing oleh Aritra di presentasi yang tadi. Ya, salam kenal Bapak Ibu, saya Cindy Chandra, saya Product Sales Engineer untuk Structure dan Civil dari Bentley Systems. Ya, Bentley Systems adalah infrastructure engineering software company Jadi kami adalah provider dari software yang sudah beroperasi selama 40 tahun dengan kolik yang tersebar di berbagai belahan dunia, merancang software yang digunakan untuk para engineers. Bentley sebenarnya punya banyak solutions ya, Bapak Ibu. Di sini Bapak Ibu bisa lihat seperti contohnya adalah communication, construction, bridges, roads, dan lain sebagainya. Tapi memang untuk hari ini kita fokusnya adalah workflow dari BIM ecosystem dengan structure solutions dari Bentley. Kalau dirangkum untuk materi yang ditampilkan oleh Aritra tadi, Bapak Ibu, bagaimana workflow dari ekosistem BIM, tadi contohnya adalah Revit, dengan structural solutions dari Bentley. Nah, sebenarnya structural solutions dari Bentley, kalau kita bagi kategorinya, Bapak Ibu bisa lihat di layar. Secara umum ada structural analysis, tadi Start Pro yang ditampilkan oleh Aritra. Kemudian ada concrete design, itu tadi contohnya adalah RCDC. Kemudian ada connection design atau sambungan untuk struktur baja, tadi juga ditunjukkan oleh Aritra, itu ada RAM connection. Kemudian yang lainnya ada desain fondasi itu start foundation, tower design ada open tower, dan juga untuk finite element analysis itu ada Adina. Ini tadi juga sudah di-share oleh Aritra, jadi untuk bagaimana solusi structure dari Bentley bisa membantu Bapak Ibu ya. Nah, untuk analisisnya bisa menggunakan Start Pro, kemudian untuk fondasi ada Start Foundation, dan yang lainnya seperti sambungan dengan RAM Connection, dan juga di Start Pro-nya sendiri sudah dilengkapi dengan fitur auto drafting itu Still Auto Drafter. Nah, untuk Structural Work Suite atau Structural Solutions dari Bentley bisa digunakan untuk berbagai jenis project, baik untuk structure, kemudian road and highway, power, dan lain sebagainya. Ini beberapa contoh project applications ya, Bapak Ibu, yang bisa kami sharing di hari ini. Contohnya adalah untuk steel structure maupun konkrit, untuk residential seperti ini, kemudian untuk industrial structures, untuk struktur baja. Ini ada contoh aplikasi project yang lainnya untuk struktur dari dam. Kemudian ada water tank, ada analisis dari elemen box culvert, dan juga untuk advanced applications-nya di sini contohnya adalah patung dari materia Buddha. Baik Bapak Ibu, kita masuk ke sesi Q&A. Bapak Ibu jika ada pertanyaan silahkan chat di kolom chat. Tadi sudah ada satu pertanyaan yang dijawab oleh Aritra ya Bapak Ibu. Itu tadi pertanyaan dari Pak Saldo ya. Dan juga di sesi Q&A ini saya akan invite Pak Noldi juga, BIM praktisi kita yang hadir di sesi Zoom siang ini. Halo Pak Noldi.
Ya, siap.
Ya Pak Noldi.
Ya, jadi
Oh,
untuk Pak Saldo tadi, sudah saya jawab ya Bu, itu ada di chat juga.
mm-mm.
Jadi memang tidak bisa secara langsung ya, tidak bisa secara langsung, tapi ada fasilitas yang sudah disediakan di Statpro melalui ISM, terus yang tadi juga sudah diterangkan menggunakan struktural synchronizer-nya itu bisa dipakai di situ.
Ya,
Jadi
betul Pak.
di Start Pro kalau ternyata setelah dihitung itu ada apa eh, filenya misalnya ukuran bajanya ndak cocok kan di Start Pro kita ganti kan begitu ya Bu Cindy. Setelah di
Iya,
Start Pro kita ganti, kita running ulang setelah sudah oke baru kita kirim kembali ke apa ke ke ini ke Revit. Nah, di fasilitas itu nanti ada pertanyaan apakah perubahan itu akan diterima. Kalau itu diterima, nanti secara otomatis Revit-nya berubah gambarnya dengan ukuran-ukuran yang tadi sudah dihitung di Statpro bisa langsung untuk dipakai di Revit. Jadi tidak otomatis langsung terganti ya. Jadi ada proses sebentar aja ya seperti itu. Karena sepengetahuan saya Revit itu hanya untuk menggambar ya, tidak untuk menghitung struktur. Saya kira itu mungkin jawaban saya.
oke. Terima kasih Pak Noldi untuk sharingnya. Bapak Ibu mungkin kalau ada pertanyaan lagi boleh disampaikan di kolom chat.
Ada tentang Adina, Bu. Mungkin bisa
Oke,
dijelaskan.
oke. Pak Lim ada pertanyaan mengenai Adina. Oke. Jadi Pak, kalau Adina ini adalah software finite element analysis dari Bentley. Mungkin ada pertanyaan khusus yang Pak Lim ingin tanyakan, boleh Pak? Oke, mungkin sambil menunggu pertanyaan dari Pak Lim, ini ada pertanyaan dari Pak Desianus ya mengenai harga dari software, kemudian licensingnya. Nah, mungkin nanti perihal ini dibantu oleh tim dari Kurnia ya dengan Bu Nesi ya Pak. Oke, hubungan dengan Start Pro ya. Oke, baik Pak Lim. Hello Aritra.
Hello, Cindy. Yes.
Yes, Aritra, we have one new question here.
Yes.
Um, can you please explain the workflow between Stat Pro and Adina?
Oh, yes. So StatPro and Adina has interoperability. So the same way where I showed you how you can move on to a RAM connection or RCDC for your different structural component design, the same way you can go to Adina and you can make your changes if you're dealing with some advanced finite element analysis. Then you can take your model to Adina, and also from Adina you can take it back. So we have the interoperability with Adina itself. That also you can do.
Oke, thanks Aritra. Jadi Pak Lim, untuk hubungan antara Adina dengan Start Pro itu juga seperti yang dicontohkan Aritra tadi ya Pak. Jadi dari Start Pro ke RAM Connection, nah sama halnya dengan Start Pro ke Adina. Jadi bisa interoperability satu sama lain, seperti itu. Mungkin dari Pak Noldi ada tambahan Pak? Oke, baik Pak Lim. Jadi pertanyaannya adalah Start Pro 2024 apakah sudah ada Adina? Oke. Jadi Start Pro 2024 dan Adina itu adalah dua software yang terpisah tapi bisa saling terhubung, Pak. Jadi nggak ada isu mau pakai Start Pro 2024 yang bisa terkoneksi dengan Adina.
Ya, jadi itu terpisah ya, Bu.
Iya,
Jadi
betul, Pak.
setelah kita membutuhkan finite element, kita harus ke Adina. Yang saya tahu di versi 2025 bisa, Bu. Kita apa file kita bisa dibaca di Adina yang
Hmm,
2025. Kalau yang
ya.
2024 kayaknya belum.
Jadi kalau udah ada modelnya nggak perlu remodel ya, Pak ya, dari Start Pro yang terbaru ke
Ya,
Adinanya.
terus dibaca di Adina ya, Bu.
Mm-mm, betul, jadi analisis lebih lanjut. Oke. Baik, Bapak Ibu, mungkin kalau ada pertanyaan lanjutan boleh di-share ke Bu Nesi. Nanti kami akan bantu jawab ya, Bapak Ibu. Oke, mungkin saya share sedikit lagi ya, Bapak Ibu. Nah, mungkin Bapak Ibu ada yang penasaran untuk tahu lebih lanjut sebenarnya materi-materi untuk belajar Bentley, softwarenya Bentley itu dari mana aja. Bapak Ibu bisa ke bentley.com, support.learn, atau scan QR yang ada di layar. Nanti akan ada muncul 3 pilihan untuk learning resources, itu ada video on demand, kemudian YouTube video, dan juga user community. Nah, ini untuk user community. Jadi setiap produk itu ada forum diskusinya antara user dan juga di dalamnya nanti ada technical expert dari Bentley yang akan membantu menjawab. Nah, ini untuk learning portal. Learning portal ini gratis. Bapak Ibu tinggal buat akun, kemudian bisa akses untuk materi-materi belajarnya, materi trainingnya untuk semua software dari Bentley. Ini sedikit informasi singkat, Bapak Ibu. Jadi Bentley, seperti yang tadi sudah saya sebutkan, ada juga solutions yang lain. Di sini contohnya ada civil untuk site development, jalan, jembatan, rel, dan juga tunnel. Oke, mungkin Bapak Ibu jika ada pertanyaan lanjutan, nanti boleh kontak ke Bu Nesi, ke PT Kurniahan Dasa Nevada. Terima kasih, saya kembalikan ke Bu Nesi.
Terima kasih Mbak Cindy, Pak Noldi. Thank you very much, Aritra.
Ya,
Eh, Bapak dan Ibu, mohon izin, nanti setelah acara ini kami akan share link yang memungkinkan Bapak dan Ibu untuk mencoba softwarenya dengan evaluation license. Jadi nanti akan di-share. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu, terima kasih dengan berakhirnya sesi tanya jawab. Acara ini saya serahkan kembali ke host, ke Pak Saldo.
Ya, halo.
Ya, Pak.
Oke. Ini ada pertanyaan terakhir, apa bisa dijawab dulu atau langsung kita tutup acara webinarnya?
boleh saya jawab, Pak.
Ya, oke. Silakan Pak Noldi.
Ya, jadi kebetulan juga pernah belajar dengan kami ya. Jadi memang sampai hari ini belum tersedia yang tertulis langsung SNI. Ya, tetapi biasanya kami mengambil dari ACI yang mendekati SNI. Ya, jadi tidak ada. Jadi memang kalau kita lihat di perhitungan strukturnya Statpro tidak ada tulisan ACI misalnya gitu ya. Ya, sorry, tidak ada tulisan SNI. Jadi kita mengambil pendekatannya SNI yang mendekati ACI. Seperti itu. Begitu Pak Saldo.
Ya, oke. Eh, saya rasa sudah cukup jelas ya, Pak Misdar. Eh, Kembali lagi kalau misalnya ada pertanyaan lanjutan, mungkin bisa menghubungi Ibu Nesi dan tim dari Bentley ya, perwakilan dari PT KHN. Eh, Terima kasih kembali kepada Bapak Ibu yang sudah bergabung dalam acara webinar kali ini yang diselenggarakan oleh PT KHN, I2MI, dan Bentley System. Saya mengingatkan kembali, tolong admin untuk mengirimkan link absensi di kolom chat ya, karena link absensi ini akan digunakan sebagai data untuk pembuatan sertifikat ya, Bapak Ibu. Jadi jangan lupa untuk mengisi link absensinya ini sebelum saya tutup. Oke, ya, itu sudah ada link absensinya. Oke, oke. Bagi Bapak Ibu, jangan lupa juga untuk isi feedbacknya, karena ini bisa untuk meningkatkan kualitas webinar I2MI ke depannya. Dan sebagai informasi tambahan lagi, dan akan saya infokan, bahwa I2MI salah satu programnya adalah webinar tiap bulan ya Bapak Ibu. Jadi kami I2MI setiap bulan akan ada webinar semacam ini, baik dengan Bentley atau dengan eh, dengan penyedia software lainnya ya yang terkait dengan digital construction. Oke, boleh dibantu itu admin. Apakah susah ngisi absennya? Oh, belum dibuka ya. Oke, itu ada link terbaru. Mungkin bisa diklik link yang baru ya, Bapak Ibu. Ya, oke. Masih masih akses internet ya. Minta tolong diperbaiki ya linknya.
Mungkin tambahan Bu Nesi, eh, kalau ada yang mau pengen belajar Bu, yang apa eval mungkin Ibu bisa infokan, yang
Oh,
evaluasi lisensi ya, karena itu
iya,
banyak yang nanya via WA ke saya.
iya, iya Pak. Tadi sudah disampaikan. Jadi nanti setelah acara, I2MI akan share link. Yang mana link itu adalah jika ingin mencoba softwarenya, silakan mengisi link tersebut. Seperti itu Pak. Untuk
Ya Bu.
evaluation license. Ya, terima kasih Pak.
Ya, oke. Eh, Silahkan dicoba kembali ya mengenai link absensinya. Eh, Kalau misalkan sudah bisa, eh, acara webinar kali ini akan saya tutup. Mohon konfirmasinya Bapak Ibu.
Saya coba buka, bisa Pak Saldo?
Bisa ya?
Bisa,
Oke,
ya.
oke, oke. Terima kasih banyak atas eh, apa namanya kehadiran Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Terima kasih juga kepada para speakers, pembicara, Aritra dan Bapak Noldi tadi. Terima kasih juga kepada moderator kita, Ibu Nancy dan Ibu Cindy. Saya selaku host dari acara webinar kali ini mengucapkan terima kasih sebanyak-banyaknya dan sampai jumpa di acara webinar yang diselenggarakan oleh I2MI di ke depan hari ya. Saya tutup acara webinar ini dengan hitungan 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oke, izin live.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih
Terima
Pak
kasih
Saldo,
Bapak Ibu.
Pak
Terima kasih
Erika.
Pak
Terima
Saldo.
kasih Pak
Terima kasih
Saldo.
Terima kasih.
banyak. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu semua.
Terima kasih banyak semua.
Assalamualaikum. Terima
Terima
kasih.
kasih.
Lancar.
Bapak udah booking lewat orang.
Terima kasih Pak Hidayat. Selamat sore.
Sama-sama Pak Iwan. Selamat
Terima
sore.
kasih Pak Hidayat.
Kita
Selamat sore
lanjut
Pak.
yang berikutnya. Kita siapkan buat yang berikutnya. Mantap Pak.
Around the world, engineers and architects, constructors and owner-operators are using Bentley's software solutions to design, build and operate the infrastructure that sustains our economy and our environment. Together, we are advancing infrastructure.
It is the front of house for our Emirates. So we wanted to do something spectacular, something iconic, something everybody will remember.
We chose Bentley. There are not many competitors who could do a project on this scale.
We wanted to use technology, digital technology, to do it in the best possible way. For this, we use Bentley software.
We're very proud of the association with Bentley Sachs. It's allowed us to be a leader in the industry.
And more important is the Bentley management has worked with us to help us feel that comfort to work with Bentley. And that is what is driving us.
Bentley, advancing infrastructure.
Analyze and design any structure from simple to complex with STAD, a comprehensive finite element structural solution from Bentley Systems. Model structures in STAD using an efficient and intuitive physical modeling workflow. Exchange model data with other applications and disciplines, including your building information modeling environment, using STAD's interoperability capabilities. Model loads graphically using a variety of convenient features. Generate lateral loads in accordance with a variety of global design standards. Create custom load combination templates or generate load combinations using STAD's load combination generators. Perform a stiffness analysis, second-order analysis, dynamic analysis, or pushover analysis, and review the analysis and design results graphically and in tabular format in STAD's post-processor. Design and optimize steel members and steel connections to meet global design standards for strength and serviceability. Design concrete elements with STAD to meet global design standards and produce detailed design drawings and schedules. Build fully customizable reports and generate working drawing for all your documentation needs. Choose STAD, available as a standalone product or as part of our cost-effective structural work suite software bundle.
Designing and analyzing telecom towers can be time-consuming and costly. The process becomes complex, especially when multiple tools are needed to ensure designs are compliant with the necessary standards. Introducing Open Tower Designer, a comprehensive, purpose-built software solution that simplifies the tower design and analysis process. It takes the modern approach, digitizing data and streamlining workflows, ultimately enabling projects to be delivered quickly and accurately. With Open Tower Designer, models of monopoles, self-supported, or guy-mast towers can be simulated and visualized in 3D. From positioning of equipment to placement of feed lines, users can precisely see how their models will appear as constructed and perform analyses on the designs. Through its built-in libraries and customizable catalog, tower structures can quickly be generated or revised to meet those last-minute work order change requests. To ensure tower designs can withstand wind, ice, and seismic load combinations, Open Tower Designer supports the latest global codes and standards that can easily be selected and changed or updated within the software's unique capability of scenario analysis. Using layered analytical modeling, engineers can create and analyze different what-if scenarios to optimize tower capacity. But rather than create multiple project files for every scenario, the application saves analysis results all in one model file, providing a single source of truth to maintain historical data and the life cycle of the structure. And when it comes to foundation checks, its integrated foundation module allows for users to automatically design and validate the safety of isolated footing, mat, drilled pier, and guy anchor foundations. The tower model has been designed and analyzed. Reports are easily accessible with just a few simple clicks. Tower summary table or generate a detailed report. Start designing and analyzing your telecom towers today with Open Tower Designer. As part of a suite of solutions, Open Tower Designer integrates with Open Tower IQ and Open Tower Mount Analysis to support the full life cycle of telecom tower design, analysis, and maintenance workflows.
Architects, engineering, and construction professionals are always under pressure to deliver safe, sustainable, and distinctive designs on time and within budget, whether they're working on buildings and campuses, civil, water and wastewater, or utility infrastructure projects. But due to increasing design complexities, stringent codes and standards, a shortage of skilled labor, and lack of coordination and communication across multiple teams, project delays, cost overruns, and quality issues have become the norm. That's why there's Open Buildings Designer, a comprehensive BIM software. It can help users take control of project costs, meet tight deadlines, optimize building designs, and enhance creative freedom. Open Buildings Designer provides a connected environment so team members can collaborate when designing building information models while supporting third-party products in multiple file formats. This powerful BIM application includes Open Buildings Energy Simulator. Users can design, simulate, and analyze building energy performance to meet complex building requirements and achieve sustainability goals. Open Buildings Generative Components, an associative and parametric modeling system, helps automate design processes and accelerate design iterations. Open Buildings Station Designer provides functional space definitions and design components to simulate rail and metro stations of any form, size, or complexity. Open Buildings Designer has affordable and flexible pricing, expert services, and includes customizable training, making it easy to get started. Open Buildings Designer. Try it today.
Around the world, engineers and architects, constructors and owner-operators are using Bentley's software solutions to design, build and operate the infrastructure that sustains our economy and our environment. Together, we are advancing infrastructure.
It is the front of house for our Emirates. So we wanted to do something spectacular, something iconic, something everybody will remember.
We chose Bentley. There are not many competitors who could do a project on this scale.
We wanted to use technology, digital technology, to do it in the best possible way. For this, we use Bentley software.
We're very proud of the association with Bentley Sachs. It's allowed us to be a leader in the industry.
And more important is, the Bentley management has worked with us to help us feel that comfort to work with Bentley. And that is what is driving us.
Bentley, advancing infrastructure.